it happened. Deltarune is officially tomorrow. Well, 60 tomorrows, that is. Thanks to the Nintendo Direct on April 2nd, we've gotten our first look at Chapters 3 and 4 of Deltarune. In this trailer analysis, I want to cover any secrets, Easter eggs, anything else I find remotely interesting, and add in a good amount of my own speculation. Starting off small, after presenting the 4 chapters, Toby hits his left ear on the number 2 before falling over. Next up, we see Chris lend a helping hand to Susie, right before Rousey enters the frame. However, his hat's returned. His hat returning could be the wearing the hat crashes of the game issue that Toy Fox was referring to on Blue Sky, or maybe we'll be able to choose if Rousey wears it or not. Better yet, if it has a story implication. Following that, Chris turns and simply acknowledges Rousey's existence. Now, the lack of any interaction likely means nothing, but as we know, Chris is neutral when it comes to Rousey, if the T's anything to go by. Finally, we see the Fun Gang all in their primary colors, the same colors that make up the Deltarune logo on the carpet in Chris's room. Our 3 heroes then walk into Castletown, where they're greeted by Lancer, Queen, Newbert, Hanthy, Rules Guard, Taskmaster, Swatchling, Addison, Pop-Up, Rudin, Worm, Ambulance, Sea-Round, Small Rabnik, Mr. Elegance, and finally Shadow Man from Chapter 3. With Shadow Man here, expect this to be what Castletown looks like post-Chapter 3 or at the beginning of Chapter 4. After that, we see the fight against Sea-Round from Chapter 1, Susie reuniting with Lancer in Chapter 2, with Rules Card peeking his head in, Sansa Undertale in Chapter 2, Chris fighting Spamton in the alley, also from Chapter 2, and then some new footage of Chris, Susie, and Rousey rocking some fancy new digs, knocking 2 Shadow Men's socks off. We've actually seen this fight before, in the Spamton sweepstakes. Comparing the two, there's a bunch of visual updates, such as the reticle looking more dynamic, a red blast effect at our hero's fingertips, and the heart bullets leaving behind a cool trail. Aside from that, there's a bullet counter at the top and a time limit at the bottom. After that barrage of bullets, we get our first look at the special room, a room that Toby created to take advantage of the mouse controls featured on the Switch 2. However, don't worry about missing out, as Toby Fox has made sure the room is still completely accessible to everyone, no matter where they play Deltarune. Taking a closer look at the room, we see it's some sort of blocking game, where you need to protect the heart from some squiggly balls using 2 cat-themed joysticks. Get hit and you lose a cat-themed life. Whole lot of cat stuff here. One final detail, the colors, pink and yellow. Pink and yellow hold great significance in Deltarune, and thanks to Wandy Doodles on Twitter, we now have every notable instance. The cat signs in Cyber City, Spamton's glasses, a pair of eyes found in the Spamton sweepstakes, friend.png in Queen's basement, the squiggly balls, and the cat joysticks. Now, it's not a coincidence that we keep seeing pink and yellow being related to cats, cause it all connects back to Spamton. If you didn't know, every enemy in Deltarune is assigned an element, and Spamton's element is element number 6, the element of cat. If you want to know more about why Spamton is a cat, I encourage you to go watch Half-Bred Chaos' video on the subject. I would not do it justice by summarizing it here, so please go check it out, it's a great watch, and a link to it will be in the description of the video. Off the tail end of the special game, we get to see a rhythm minigame. The Lightners are rocking it out in some flashy new outfits, with Chris on the electric guitar sporting some pink shoulder pieces, Rousey on vocals with a mighty mohawk, and Susie going crazy on the drums with a heroic head of hair. The rhythm game looks to have you control Chris and Rousey's jams. However, Susie's track is completely crossed out. This likely furthers the idea that Susie will do as she pleases and will not let the player influence her actions. The final detail of the scene is some text found in the very back. It seems to read out Lightner's Love. It's likely that this is the band name of our protagonists. Now, the final 18 seconds of this trailer are where the real meat and potatoes are. The first thing we see is Susie catching Chris as glass shatters all around them, before she tosses them onto a higher ledge. Couple things to note here. First, the colors. Chris's clothing is a washed out bluish gray and lacks the pink on their scarf, while Susie is an orangey brown. I believe this is due to them being in the church, where the only light coming in is from the stained glass windows at the top of the scene. And if we go to the Deltarune website right now, you'll see 2 large church buildings, confirming that Chapter 4's Dark World will be in the church, since we know Chapter 3's is in the TV. We then get a montage of the main bosses from each chapter. King from Chapter 1, Queen and Rebecca in Chapter 2, and our first look at Chapter 3 and 4's bosses. We first got to see the TV boss at the end of Chapter 2, and thanks to the Spectrum sweepstakes, we know their name is Tenna. The short animation that plays shows Tenna as a 3D model. Now if this isn't just meant for their intro, it would be super cool if we fought Tenna in some sort of 3D form. Lastly, Tenna is purple. I like purple. Now, Chapter 4 segment doesn't show us a boss, but an attack. We see Chris and Susie still in the church, running on glass that bears the Deltarune, while being chased by what looks like dark fireballs. Wherever this church boss is, they seem to be overwhelming Chris and Susie, and the reason they might be overwhelmed is because Rouse is missing. All our footage of Chapter 4 lacks any sign of the Dark Prince. We know he would drop anything to go help Chris and Susie seal the fountain, since he knows how to travel to any dark world, and he of all darkners knows the major consequences of leaving them open. So the lack of Rouse must mean whatever dark force that's in the church must be preventing him from helping. And finally, we get to see an incredibly animated sequence of our 3 heroes at the end of the game, facing what looks to be the Angel's Heaven. The angel opens its massive wings, flashing our 3 heroes, with the wings open, the fun gang at the bottom, and the heart in the center. Altogether, it perfectly forms the Deltarune. Another incredible detail is the save icon within the angel's wings. Now, the save point is constantly being referred to as light. Father Alvin tells us to let the angel's light guide our way. It's highly possible that the save points are a piece of the angel's light, as a light that only you can see, a light that breaks through the darkness, sounds a whole lot like a light guiding our way. A little bonus, we see our 3 heroes get bathed in light. The final connection the save point has to the angel and the angel's heaven is the Titans, as their faces are the save point. I'm blown away that we get to see an early look at the banishing of the angel's heaven, and I can't wait to find out who or what the angel is. And that marks the end of the things I spotted in the trailer. I bet there are a few things I missed or could have elaborated on, so please tell me what you spotted, or theories or ideas you have for the future of Deltarune. I plan to read all the comments I get. Special thanks to Wendy Duels for allowing me to include their tweets in the video. All their tweets are incredibly well researched and informative, and there are a few details I wouldn't have spotted without them. I highly encourage you to go check them out, so I'll include a link to their Twitter in the description. Finally, thank you for watching. This was the first time I made a YouTube video of this caliber, so I hope you can forgive me for being disorganized. I know that a lot of extra information came out after the trailer, but I wanted to mainly focus on the stuff we could get out of the trailer itself. I wish the video could have come out a little bit sooner, but I'm still happy that I was able to release it at all. And finally, if there's anything I should improve on, please leave it down in the comments. And if you're really cool, please subscribe. Thanks again, and bye-bye.